All right, so apparently TMZ did an investigation of Britney Spears, and this is the price of freedom. So I keep hearing a lot about it, and I thought it'd be a good idea if we did it. We're gonna do a watch along. First of all, have you watched Britney Spears?
Well, I'm a super fan of Britney Spears, but I do have a hard time watching her on Instagram. Her posts don't mesh with the person I want her to be.
Yeah, from like 20 years ago. She is.
Well, I always thought, honestly, she's very known for her dancing. But then when I watch her on Instagram, she doesn't use all of her dance moves. She only uses a few. So I'd like her to expand her repertoire.
Yeah,
because
and the ones that
like
we see
her
are not
dance.
any good. Let's just be honest.
Sometimes they are.
TMZ investigates Britney Spears, the price of freedom.
Can you pause it a second? So people are allowed to do a documentary about you without your consent?
Apparently. They've done like 4 of her. We're doing a documentary about her right now. Look at us we are trying to profit right now from Britney's situation.
But I wouldn't consider us trying to earn a profit.
Well, I'm hoping this blows up and makes us millionaires. I'm trying to profit.
Okay.
Britney's mental health has swung like a pendulum. Sources close to her tell us there are days when she's completely normal, like the old Britney. And days when she's frighteningly out of control.
So roll your boat gently down the
I think that's the thing is obviously we were all happy when the conservatorship ended, but this guy that she has a husband, she has infrastructure around her, and I think that it seems to me like he has, or anybody around her has sort of been like, hey, you do you, and no one's giving her actual feedback, right? So she's the one who's fully allowed to decide and monitor what she shows to the world, and at times you see things like this where she looks unhinged.
Mm-hmm.
She lives in constant fear of being reinstitutionalized.
I honestly, still to this day, don't know what really I did. I literally spoke in a British accent to a doctor to prescribe my medication, and 3 days later, there was a swap team in my home, 3 helicopters.
All right. If you're at your psychiatrist's office and he's trying to prescribe medication for your bipolar, and you break into a British accent, it's gonna raise some eyebrows.
It's very hard to maintain a relationship with a spouse or partner who has a pre-existing mental illness. But not only in this case do you have that, you also have someone who didn't have a good foundation of a biological or a family of origin to know what a role modeling of a marriage should be or a relationship. And so she's going to have trouble with men, and it's going to stir up a lot of issues for her with or without a mental illness, and it's going to be worse with a mental illness.
I think that's my only sort of concern with this is this idea that because she's bipolar, because she has a mental illness, which is odd that they haven't said bipolar, but there's this idea that if you have bipolar, then you are damaged goods and you can't have a healthy relationship. And he's right. It's not the bipolar that's preventing her. It's the lack of medication. It's the bad background. It's the lack of stability. It's everything other. It's really not the mental illness. That just adds to it. Mm-hmm. It exacerbates the other problems.
Britney hasn't seen her sons in well over a year. Tensions between them had gotten so bad, the boys weren't even responding to her texts, and she was furious.
Have you lost your mind? I do care, but I'm shocked as with you. And I don't know what to do. And I'm scared of you because you're weird, because you're going through puberty. I don't know what to say.
I'm scared of you because you're going through puberty and you're acting weird.
And you're weird. I feel like I might be saying that to my kids at one day. Yeah. I am just scared of you.
The most concerning part of that, though, to me, is that the kids are recording her. Like for a child to think, I want to record mom to display how crazy she is, to give it to dad or to put it on social media. Like, that just tells you that the mindset of the kid is there's no longer the deference to their parent, right? That looks like it's a very broken relationship. Like, what she said, whatever, like you could critique it and say, oh, you probably shouldn't treat your kid that way, and I agree. But what's most concerning is the relationship is so fractured.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like kids are always recording everything, so it would be different from when we did it from now. Like people
That's true. We are different.
So I think it's just a generational thing. What I found that was interesting was like her voice was normal when she was yelling at them. It sounds like a normal adult versus how she always sounds to me, which is like a trapped 15-year-old.
I can totally understand why my family would have a problem with me doing my own thing. Maybe because I never have. So Jaden, as you undermine my behavior, just like my whole family always has, with I hope she gets better, I will pray for her. Pray for what?
See, like this is such a classic view that she's having. Right? She feels like the medication, she feels like the therapy, she feels like all of these interventions are removing the real her. Right? She wants to be the real me, but the real me
has consequences.
The real you, like she has to recognize that the real you, when you're on your medication, that's the real you. When you're not on your medication, that is the distorted, delusional, out of control, unhinged you. You know what I mean? And she's thinking, because it feels good when she's in that moment, she's thinking that that's the real her.
I feel so sad for her kids. And her, too. I mean, it's just unfortunate that, like, it's at this point.
Yeah.
She's lashing out at her children because she's hurt by them. She feels betrayed by them. She's not able to take the position of an adult or a mother at times when she's upset, to be able to have the judgment and the distance to be able to see that they are children acting accordingly with adult supervision. Instead, she's hurt as a child equal to them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a very good
I was
point.
thinking about that thing you said to me about how kids just want a relationship with you.
Yeah.
And so, Brittany, like your kids, that's all they want. It's up to you to get to that place.
That's exactly right. Like,
and so you're acting like a child, but it's up to you if you want a relationship. That's all they want with you. They don't want to. They don't want to embarrass you. They don't. They have to distance. They have to keep themselves safe from your behavior. But I think all they want is a relationship with you.
Yeah. That is such an unhealthy thing to do, where you lower yourself to your kid's level, right? And you're like, I need attention too. I need to be treated. You're not treating me right, right? She's no longer being a mother in that situation.
When you have someone who has been taught that love is admiration, when you're not on stage, you're not touring, you don't have your residency, but you have social media as this mechanism for which you can put things out there and get instant feedback. There is an absolute draw there to say, this is the way that I fulfill that need that I have inside me for admiration, attention, affection, love.
I totally agree. I think that's the exact mechanism. I think she desperately needs the attention, and whenever she posts, she gets positive comments. The more provocative, the more positive the comments. There's a lot of if you look at her Instagram, like half the comments are, yes, queen. Like YASS queen.
It makes me very sad. I ask people to see through some of these things we're talking about and look at the woman there and the suffering she's going through and the isolation. This is a brilliant performer. This is a lovely woman. This is somebody who is trying to manage her life, and she has a lot to offer. And this illness just is getting in the way.
So I agree with everything that they're saying. I think that they are. I think, especially with what Drew was saying, as far as we should see the woman behind this as someone who is suffering. And I think a big, but as far as them sort of her hitting that rock bottom, she needs something to focus on, something to make this behavior unacceptable. But when she's just in her home by herself, she can get away with sleeping for 3 days and being up for 3 days and going crazy on Instagram, and there's no repercussions.
Yeah, she doesn't have enough accountability.
Yeah.
I think like maybe doing like some charity, I think, similar to Prince Harry, something to focus on.
Yeah.
To find meaning.
Yeah, isn't it interesting that they spend the last quarter of this saying like, oh, there's a future, she could get back in the recording studio, like she could get back to entertaining us again. Versus maybe the answer for her is to find a charity, to find something that she's passionate about, but throw herself into it in a way that that this behavior
that she could.
Is a problem.
Because she says that she has the ability to be a machine and work hard. But that's not what we're seeing. But maybe that's when she is working, or focused, she's at her best.
Yeah, think about how difficult retirement is for the average person. 60, you retire. 65, whatever, you retire. You go home. You have nothing to do, and you get depressed. The mental illness gets worse. If you're Britney Spears and you just turn it off and you go home, it's going to get worse, but in a more extreme way.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening. If you like this, we have another YouTube channel that's just me and Allison. It's called Shrink Wrapped. Check it out. I'll link it here. All right, thanks.